Welcome to this extra special episode of the Syntho podcast. Today's topic is how the pandemic changed my life, and it's going to be me and only me explaining how this crazy situation in the world has changed my life forever. I've got the cue of Instagram in front of me as it's going to provide an excellent timeline for me to kind of trigger thoughts and memories and give me a good outline of how to explain what the fuck happened the last, where are we now, nearly 18 months. So I thought this would be a good time to do this video, as I know a lot of new people have discovered the channel, and there seems to be a general growth of the Syntho platform and my platform in general. And I thought, what better way to introduce myself to the people that don't know me well, and also just kind of give a clear idea of what journey I've been on in the last 18 months, because believe me, it's been fucking crazy. And it is a bit weird talking to myself. I've done podcasts, I've done videos, but this is the first time actually talking to myself. So I've got a coffee, I've got a pint of water, and I'm just going to explain things. And I've wrote a few notes on a piece of card. So between that and my Instagram prompt in front of me, I'm going to try and break down what the fuck's gone on. So we're taking it back to January 2020. This was the start of a new year, of course, and I thought this was the year for Josh Baker in a DJ sense. I think every year you think this is my year. We all do. And if you don't think that, then you'd question if you're moving forwards or moving backwards, as we always want to be on the up and it should always be our year. And really everything felt like it was going to come together. I'd signed the PIV EP, the Succumvit EP. I knew there was good things coming, the festival, things like that. And at the end of January 2020, we had Gene on Earth and Sugar Free can play for us. We had the Sickest Party, really set the tone for what was to come. Partied for a bit too long. I think it was a full-on rollover till like 9 p.m. the next day. Hangover was not great, but it was like, this is it. This is a great party. Let's see what's going to happen. And it was very much in a time of, it was all about the party. It was all about the DJing. It was all about what's going to come next weekend, finding new tunes, making new tunes, and try and get some more EPs secured. And that was it. I was occupied by that. And that was all life was going to be for the foreseeable future, was gigs, preparing for the weekends, making tunes, and just kind of really taking everything to the next level in a DJ sense, a producer sense, and also growing you&me as a brand. I feel like we had it's been 6 years, the 6th birthday is soon. I'm going to save this for another podcast, so I'm not going to go deep into that, but we've really been on a journey with the brand, and 2020 was our year. But like I say, it's always everyone's year, so I'm saying it with a pinch of salt. So in the following weekend, I was actually playing Egg London, which was a pretty good gig in terms of fee. It was quite a nice, like, right, if I'm getting this every weekend and playing every weekend, life's going to be pretty good, because as we all know, the DJ lifestyle, until you really get to a place where you're playing every weekend on a decent gig, you're not getting paid that much money, really. And I've made the commitment a long time ago to go full time with this, and fortunately living at home and doing lessons, which I'll come to afterwards, I made a okay living out of it. And yeah, I got the Egg gig the week after, which was wicked, and then it was like, there is some fucking virus going around. It's almost like, what? So we didn't really take anything serious. We're in February, and then I think that was my last gig. I don't think I had anything more booked. But then we got to end of Feb. I'm going to go from Instagram. This is why I use this as prompts, because it would be a great tool to go through a bit. So yeah, I got the Gene on Earth gig. Then my PIV EP came out. I got to number 1 on DJ. So it was like, right, this is going to be good. And then we announced the party with Quest and Christian AB for May as well. We announced the hide&Seek lineup. and really it was looking like it was going to be. So we thought someone would be back on. I think we all did. I think we thought this would be a few weeks, the pandemic, and what turned into a few weeks went on till summer, didn't it? Until we finally got a sniff of it. But there was no gigs. I was kind of sat around, and I always did lessons, and this is something that people aren't aware of, that I always taught people to make music for 3-4 years. Fortunately, I have friends near me, such as Local Dub, aka Seb and Emil, are two of my best mates. Matt Wide, if you know him. Even Alfie Jack, that's how we met. I did one-on-one lessons. And when the pandemic was started, there was going to be no gigs. I upped the lessons, one-on-ones. And I had taught for a few years, so it was already there for me. A lot of DJs jumped on the teaching thing after a few months, but I'd already taught. And something I always say to people is there is a difference between being good at making a tune and being able to teach someone to make a tune. This isn't to say I'm fucking an Oxford professor, because I'm far from it, but I'd already figured out how to effectively show someone how to make a tune. Think of it, you can show someone how to make a tune, clearly, but I kind of fine-tuned how to teach it in an effective way where it's understandable, because someone could show you in 2 hours how to make a track, but if it goes straight over your head and it's not broken down in a clear and concise manner, then it doesn't matter how good they are. And fortunately, I'd built up a few years of teaching experience because people near me wanted teaching, basically. And Local Dub, look at them now, absolutely smashing it. So that's kind of a proud thing to say that I taught them from scratch. And then Alfie Jack, who's now part of you&me, he actually came for lessons, and that was another way we connected. So the infrastructure was already there to keep working during the pandemic, and that's what I did. So the teaching then got scaled up. It was something which I never really thought about taking to the next level. The teaching was just something I did for friends of friends, and people came to the studio, which is like, thinking back now, people actually came and sat in my house and did lessons. Seems crazy because we've done everything online for 18 months, and my whole business model now with Syntho is all online, and the thought of people physically coming to my house is kind of weird when you think about it. It's also like I remember we used to knock on each other's door. It's like now, if someone knocks on your door, you're scared for your life because you text someone before. But yeah, I went from the gigs to then teaching, and then I did a few posts, and I started getting a lot of lessons, and I was doing every single day 2-hour lessons, and I was probably having like 2 a day, so it was decent income. And I soon realized that I was telling everyone the same thing, and I was like, right, this is a bit daft. I'm telling everyone the same fucking thing, and I was doing a lot of lessons. I mean, I'd say I was getting to 10 lessons a week at one point, which is decent money when it's 2 hours. I think it was around £40 an hour, so I was getting good money off it. But the thing is, I was telling everyone the same thing, and I was like, this must be a more efficient way to do this. So what I originally did is I cut down the lessons to 90 minutes, but the price stayed the same because the demand was there, but I wanted to have more time back. And I'll never forget, one day I was actually sat in my brother's bedroom, and he was watching a tutorial online, and it was a DJ doing a live stream, doing a lesson, talking about showing you how to make a track. And I was like, I wish I could do that. I wish I could speak on camera. I wish I could kind of record myself. I wish I had the confidence to do that. And then I didn't really think anything of it. And then in another lesson the following week, one of my clients said he was on some kind of teaching site, another platform. And I thought, oh, like that sounds such a good idea. But I didn't really think anything of it. But then something just clicked inside my head and went, why on earth are you teaching so many people? I had the people there, the demand was there to build us something, and I'm not doing it. Why have I sat here telling everyone the same thing when I could help more people produce better content? People can watch the videos back. There's so many benefits to the platform I've created, which I'll explain in more detail afterwards, because I'm sure many people aren't completely familiar with it. But yeah, my thought process was, I could do something where I could record videos and people could watch them back, and I can cover more topics, and the people that are paying for lessons could pay less money and get more content and watch it when they want, when they feel like it. And there was this moment, and it was around April, the seed was planted, and I thought, this could be good. And then when I started looking into it, fuck me, there is a lot of shit that goes into it. And there's so many different things that I had to take into account. You need a website, you need someone to host it, you need to record the videos, you need to make the content, you need a mic, you need a webcam, you need a computer, you need software. There's endless things. You need a logo, branding, blah, blah, blah. There were so many things that needed to be done to launch this project. And obviously the one-on-one teaching was just super convenient. It was, people just paid me, transferred me the money, they did the lessons, that was that. And it was around April time I had this idea, and the idea to begin with was very much what it is now. And a lot of reading that I read into and startups and entrepreneurs, it's often you get the bare minimum and then build from there. But I really had an idea of what this could be, this platform with the podcast, the teaching side of it, the newsletter. I had a big idea for this community, and it's only just started what I'm trying to achieve. And I actually have a notebook in my bedroom of the ideas of when I first drafted it down. It's really interesting to look back because it's actually stayed on quite a... I had this vision, and it's very much stayed on that vision, but in a good way. It's not kind of not grown. It's grown massively. Otherwise, I wouldn't probably be doing this podcast right now. But I had a vision, and I've really believed in that vision from the start. And it's not been something where I kind of went to do something shit or small. I've really believed from the start that I could build a big platform. So the idea was there around April time, and it actually took me 2 months from the idea to launching what is now the Syntho membership platform, which is helping producers take their music to the next level. I'm going to explain about the logistics of the platform later if you're interested. But just a bit more about the process in launching it. And what happened is I had this idea. I told people close to me, I told my mum, who was a big part of this whole process, and they were like, it's a good idea. They all said it was a good idea. And I was doing these live streams, making a few tunes. We can all remember that summer where we were all playing records on live stream. It was a really fun time, actually. That I remember preparing for the live streams, and this idea was in my head. And this was after I released the PIV EP, so my momentum as a producer was starting to pick up. People kind of knew who I was a bit more. And I wanted to do this platform. So first I figured I'd need to record videos, tutorials, and that was the first thing I did, because I thought if I've got the content, I can figure the rest out. And turns out to record videos on your computer with Ableton open, you need a pretty good computer, a good Mac. And unfortunately, my MacBook was running on its last legs, and when I was recording, it was just lagging like fuck. And I persisted for about 2-3 weeks, and it was just kept fucking up. And truth be told, I recorded the LA Dream breakdown about 10 times, and eventually I figured out how to get it to work on my Mac. And then by the time I did, I recorded the video and I had the mic unplugged. And then another time it cut out halfway through. Then another time the audio didn't record properly. And this may sound like an exaggeration, but I did them videos about 10 times. And to add to the pain, during this time, I was having building work done at my house. So I had drilling going on from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. And anyone that joined Syntho at the start will know the pain I went through. So I either had to record the videos in the morning or the afternoon. And anyone that knows me well knows that I am someone who gets up at 6 o'clock every day, if not earlier during the pandemic times, because of we couldn't go out, could we? So it was a very weird time for me. I'm just making sure it's still recording the video. And it turns out that I was messing up these videos, so I had to either set my alarm to get up at 5 to do the video before the builders got there, or do it in the evening. But bearing in mind I got up at 6, by the time it gets to 5 p.m, I'm done for the day. And it got to the point where the computer wouldn't work. Something was going wrong every time, and I said to my mum, this is not worth it, I can't be bothered. But here's where the accountability came in. Because my auntie had helped me out quite a bit with a website, I'd already had her put a bit of work in, and she offered me a lot of advice during this time because she did a similar kind of thing with building websites and marketing, a similar platform to Syntho, and she'd put a lot of time in to help me out. So I had that accountability there where I can't just not do it because she's helped me out. I'd got the logo sorted for Syntho, and it was about mid-May, and I'd probably spent best part of 500 quid on equipment because I had to buy a mic, I had to buy a webcam, had to buy some software inside the computer, but the computer still wouldn't work. It wasn't good enough, and it was either time to buy a new computer or just sack it off and cut my losses. And I knew this idea was good. I was still doing my one-on-ones. I started to tell people, then people started to go like, "When's this thing coming?" My friends, and I was like, don't know if I should do this. What if it's not meant to be? And then I did the craziest thing I've probably ever done. I bought a Mac Tower, and if you're familiar with Macs, they are the big fucking computers. Maybe I'll be able to get one pop on the screen here. But yeah, I bought this Mac Tower, and the price of it was £7,000, something around that. And luckily my brother got a student discount, so I got like £1,000 off. So it was £6,000 in total, and I did it on finance. And my logic was, if I'm going to fucking do this, I'm going to fucking do this. And the minute I bought that computer, I knew how much money I'd have to pay each month. There was not a chance in hell that it was not going to work. So it said the computer would take 2 weeks. So I'm already about 6 weeks into this fucking process where I'm waiting for the computer. I'm almost tired now because I've recorded this video this many times. What if it's not meant to be? What if I'm a load of shit? And all that doubt was just in my mind, and I almost just felt demotivated because I was doing these lessons, but I knew there was a better platform available for me, available for them, and I just knew that what I was doing was not as efficient as it could be for everyone. And in the end, the computer came after a week, and it turned up, and I was like, fuck, what have I done? I bought a £6,000 computer that I've got to pay off, so either I'm going to have to pay this much money a month, or if I fall behind my payments, like, this could be horrific because there was no sign of gig starting. I had no stable income. I was just a kid with an idea for a startup. It's a startup what I've done, and yeah, we got everything installed on the computer, and we recorded the video once the builders left for work, when the drilling stopped, and we banged 5 videos together. And I thought, how many do I need to do to launch this? And then it came down to the startup logic of, you just need the bare minimum to start with. What is needed to get this business up and running? And I decided 5 videos was enough. And we got to start of June, and it's game on. I think I finished recording the videos around June the 5th, and I launched on June the 14th. And my friend Harrison Giles came round and made the video, which was going to be the Syntho promo video, and it was ready to go. And then we waited, and we launched on June the 14th, and I said to my mum, if I got 10 people, I would be thrilled, and I got a lot more than that. I'm still in a place where I prefer not to say exactly how many people are in the platform. I guess eventually I'll be more open about it. I feel like it's just something where I prefer to keep to myself. But it's been growing amazing, and to give you just an idea of what I thought 10 people would be good of what I was offering, but it was way more than that. And it was just it was a crazy feeling to think that I could actually build something here that lasts a lifetime and help so many people. Because there was things before where the one-on-ones are expensive. Syntho is by no means cheap, but it's, when you look at other platforms doing anything kind of similar, they're more expensive than mine. And one-on-one lessons I was charging in the end £50 for an hour lesson, and whereas Syntho was £59, and you can get access to 50 hours of content. This video, I don't want to try and upsell what I'm doing like completely, but obviously, if you want to join, feel free. But I wanted to build something more cost efficient, and at the start it was £39 a month. That was the introductory offer, and people that are still a member now have still got that price that joined at the start. But yeah, it was. I launched it and it went better than I could ever have expected, and I didn't really know that. I didn't know then how much it would change my life and the implications it would have on my day-to-day living and the way I think, the way I hold myself, the confidence that I would gain, and everything. And we launched it. Well, I say we. I mean, I launched it with help from my auntie, my mum, my friends around me for listening to me, my girlfriend, and never really looked back in terms of the teaching platform. Every single week there has been at least one video, mostly two. I think that in itself, looking back as a consistency kind of metric, is crazy. That was the bare minimum that was ever going to get delivered, but to think that I've actually done that every week we're now 11 months deep into the project. The birthday is on June the 12th. I've got something really cool planned for it, but I think it's like 90% of businesses fail in the first year, and the fact I've got over this year hurdle is really exciting. And a lot of people have always asked, is it going to be continuing once gigs start? And if I'm honest, it's a massive part of my life now, and I feel like it's only just begun. And yeah, having that thing of having the responsibility of recording videos every week, knowing people are paying for my service and my experience and my knowledge, and I've got to deliver something every week. And the way it's changed my life, that is insane, because the DJ lifestyle is something where you kind of do what you want, when you want, whenever you want. And I think that's part of the dream life of the DJ, that you don't have to do much, really. You just have to make a couple tunes, 4 or 5 EPs a year. I know people turn up to the studio every day, but I also know DJs that do fuck all, and they've got that break, and they don't really put that 100% in. Nothing wrong with that at all. Everyone does it differently. At the end of the day, if you can make it work by not putting as much work in, then that's good for you. And I don't mean that in a patronising way. I don't think that it should always be like whoever puts the most hours in deserves it the most. I think it's who uses their time the wisest, and that is something I've learned. But yeah, the fact that it's changed my life in a massive way, that I now have something to answer to every week. There's not one singular person. There is multiple people that are waiting for my next move and my next video and my next offerings as a teacher. And it's incredibly rewarding to think that I can actually help people achieve what I'm trying to achieve as well. But when I was trying to become this DJ that I'm becoming, I think becoming is a really good word here, which we'll talk about after. There was not much out there that was even similar to what I'm offering. You could get lessons, you could go to schools, but all these things weren't directly teaching you how to make bombs, how to make tracks, what the DJs actually do. And this is something I always did in my one-on-one lessons, but even so, it was always kind of going through someone else's track. And a lot of the time, people would bring me a track each week to the lessons, and I wouldn't actually show them anything new because they'd be so fixated with showing me their track. And when you think about it, if you keep doing the same thing, you can get the same results. And by me doing tutorials, track breakdowns, jam sessions, I'm offering people a chance to see how I do it. And I don't just make my kind of music, I show you how to make other kinds of music, such as minimal, like old UK tech house, Sweely kind of shit. And by seeing this different outlook, gives you such a good chance to improve your skills, adapt your production process, and not do the same thing. Whereas when it was one-on-one lessons, I think a lot of the time you either just go through your own track but don't really learn anything new or see any new processes. Or if you go to music school, it's just theory. How does a reverb work? How does this work? And that's not how you make songs, really. It's more theory. But having that accountability for myself every week has meant that I've got to bear in mind constantly what I'm doing this weekend, because I need to be in a fit state next week to record a new video. I need to bear in mind day to day that when am I going to record this, when I'm going to do that, when I'm going to reply to them emails. Whereas before this, it was very much a life of leisure, I would say. But it never was leisurely. It was, but I would make music and that was it. And It didn't matter if I just started making music on Thursday or if I'd had a week off making music, there'd be no repercussions. Whereas now, if I took 3 weeks off, there'd be repercussions. Either people leave the platform, which obviously is a proud thing to build a big platform up, or people are going to be unhappy, which is, I do not want that, and I want to offer the best service possible. And 3, people aren't going to get better if there's no new content coming. You can obviously make music, but the idea here is to keep giving people new insights, new knowledge, new ideas to keep moving their music forward. And yeah, that as a how do I say it? That alone, just having the accountability of running something is crazy, because it has its cons and it has its pros. Because the pros of being accountable, it kind of keeps you in check. But then the cons are, it's hard to switch off. And people may not realize this, but I'm super proud of what I'm building and what I've built so far. But I find it hard to kind of detach from it. And you probably notice that I'm online a lot and I'm providing new content, but in a healthy way. But it's hard to switch off. Not that I want to always switch off, because I really enjoy growing the platform and answering questions on Instagram. This is like a thing I really love doing. But you can also imagine that, I think everyone has this, but it's hard to just switch off, And even on the weekends, I'll check the email, check the DMs, reply to people. And then it's, where do the lines cut off between work and downtime? And I would probably say that for the past 12 months, I think there's been only 1 week when I went on holiday to Dubai when I said to myself that I'm not checking my Instagram in the daytime, that I've actually had any time off. And I don't consider anything I do to be work, really, because it feels like fun and feels like play. However, I would say that I have an addiction to the whole process now. Now, I love making the videos, seeing how many likes the posts get, seeing how many questions I get day to day, if the followers are going up. Not in an unhealthy way, but it's a good metric if things go in the right way. The followers are going up, the members are going up, the people messaging me is going up, and things like that. And it's a good metric to know I'm doing the right thing, because you could say followers don't matter, but if people are unfollowing Syntho and I'm getting less likes in the post and I'm getting less views on YouTube and I'm getting this, that means I'm not going in the right direction. And that means maybe I need to rethink the model. I need to rethink what I'm delivering content-wise, or things like that. So we need to bear that in mind. If I have more followers on my Instagram, the chances are it's going to correlate with more people inside the Syntho membership site. That correlates with more people watching the YouTube videos. It's all interlinked. No matter whether people like it or not, it's all linked. And it's the 21st century. And if you choose to ignore that, then it's up to you. But I don't think social media and numbers can be ignored, because in an often artistic game, it's good to have things you can measure. And it's hard to measure, is this song better than that song? But you can measure if one post got more likes than the other. And watch the Suat podcast if you're interested in more social media stuff. But numbers can give you a great indicator of the direction you're heading. And yeah, that was a bit of a tangent. I've lost my train of thought. So yeah, let's talk about the podcast now. And as just mentioned then about the Suat podcast, the podcast was a project which I knew would go hand in hand with the teaching platform. The original idea was, how can I get more people to say Syntho without having to ask them to say Syntho? And I really wanted to give some free content, because obviously Syntho is a paid membership site, and this is what Syntho is. Syntho was a teaching platform to begin with. And to get more people to say Syntho, I knew if I offered some free, valuable content, more people are going to share the stuff, go on to whatever, and say Syntho. And more people saying Syntho should drive people in the site, and then we all know what that results in. And talking on camera, this is what I want to say actually, that talking on camera is something I'd never, ever, ever done. And before doing Syntho, there are limitations of me saying to myself, I wish I could do that membership site. I wish I could talk on camera and teach. The reason I said I wish, because I didn't believe that I could talk on camera, or people wouldn't be interested to hear me speak. And there is a massive defining moment in this whole journey. And it was when I did a video on about a week after I launched, and you can go and find it on Instagram. Maybe I can pop up like a click here. And I spoke to the camera and said that an Alex Kidd tutorial would be coming to the Syntho site. And before this, I'd never spoken on camera in my life, but I knew the importance of speaking on camera if you want to grow a platform and you want to be trusted by people. I knew if I just posted videos or still images, people wouldn't buy into me as a person, because you're essentially investing in me as well with the platform, and you're trusting me to guide you. And I knew if I wanted to build that trust with my clients and my community, I'd need to speak to the camera, and I just fucking did it. I set a camera up in the garden on my phone and videoed myself saying, "Hi guys, welcome to Syntho, whatever. Next week's coming a video with Alex Kidd." And this may sound kind of, I don't know, you're probably watching this thinking that how was I ever scared talking on camera? People have said I'm a natural. I don't know, you may be watching this thinking the exact opposite, but I stepped out my comfort zones and it changed so much. The fact I could now speak to a camera, and I've said that this is the new norm. Well, it will be the new norm, that everyone is going to speak to cameras to deliver messages online. I still get nervous a bit, not nervous, but conscious of me, as just self-conscious of my appearance, I guess, when you're speaking on a camera, because we all know what it's like if you get a picture at the wrong time. You look like a fucking doofus, even the best of looking people. And I feel like when someone's a speaker, my mouth moves and all this shit, like, it can be bad angles. And I feel like when you're doing a story, I'm conscious that sometimes I can look like a twat, but, you know, I don't think I've ever looked at someone else's story thinking he looks like a twat. So I guess that's a lesson there in itself, that don't give a fuck what anyone thinks. But yeah, I came round to realise that we all live in this life where we think that everyone's talking about us and everyone thinks about us and all this shit. But in reality, people have barely got their own lives figured out, never mind thinking about what you're up to. And that video you posted on Instagram yesterday, or that, you know what I mean, that news you've posted that you think everyone's been waiting for the whole life. But in reality, everyone's so busy trying to sort their own lives out that they don't really get much time to think about that video you posted the day before. And when I realized this and decided to do this video, it changed so much, because it opened up the possibilities then to speak on camera and be someone who was confident, and I just fucking went for it. And I recorded this video, and when I did that, I realized, like, shit, I want to do a podcast, I want to do so much more. And then 2 weeks later, I recorded the first podcast with Local Dub, and we had a quick 20-minute chat, and it was very much off the cuff, winged it. And then I recorded one with Ivan Cuts, and Ivan Cuts is top guy from Scotland, a good friend. Go and watch that, the second one ever. And then we didn't do another one then, and waited for, I wanted to keep doing it, but I didn't really have a strategy for it. I was just kind of just winging it, the first two, kind of dropped your podcast, blah, blah, blah. And then I'm going to scroll on my Instagram feed. Start of 2021, we are balls deep in the pandemic. And I decided that this year, I didn't think any gigs would start. I was going to do one podcast a week all year. And I had Ollie Ryder on for the first week. And it was funny because I think I didn't get him sorted until like 2 days before. And I was like, shit, I've nearly started off. I said to myself, I think on the 4th of January, because I actually got COVID over Christmas. So unfortunately, I had COVID. That's it. So I was kind of ill still until like January the 2nd or something. Then I said to myself, should I just start next week? And I think this is where massive problems can start. If you start next week, then you get to next week and you start the week after. And the biggest thing I ever fucking did this year was do that podcast in the first week of January. You don't understand. I don't think anyone understands the power of consistency. And I've wrote down some lessons of everything. And the biggest lesson I've learned in the pandemic is the power of consistency. But we're going to talk about that more after, probably. I'm worried this is kind of going to be a long podcast, but hopefully it's interesting. And the power of consistency, because I did that first one, I got that done. Then I remember the Rossi one I got just before we did it, like 2 days before. He didn't reply, like, because he was busy. And then Casey the week after. And then from there, I've done one a week. And fortunately, I'm doing this one today. This means one's going to go out. This is going to go out in 2 days. One this week. I've got ready to record 2 next week. And this whole thing of doing podcasts each week further brings structure to my life, which at times is you feel like you're kind of limited, but it also just gives you so much. I think being self-employed, the whole thing no one ever talks about is that on bad days when you can't be fucked doing anything, no one tells you to do anything. And we all know how shit it feels to sit and do nothing all day. And it happens to me all the time. Like probably once every 2 weeks, maybe more frequently, I'll have a day where I'm just like, oh, and just get nothing done and just feel a bit like, oh, I wish I had a job, a normal job, and was told what to do. Because sometimes by having no one tell you what to do, it's very easy just to get yourself stuck in a slump and get nothing done. And then it comes to another interesting point that I heard recently on a podcast is that we all constantly want more and kind of envy other people's lives. But when you get in someone else's shoes, they probably want someone else's life. And it's such a round fucking merry-go-round thing where you think everyone else is living their best life, but every best life has its drawbacks. Every footballer probably wishes that you could just walk into McDonald's and not get pestered. I don't know why I said McDonald's, but every rapper probably wishes he could just go and sit in the cinema and not get pictures taken with them. Then you get your person at Greg's probably wishes they were, well, probably do wishes they were a millionaire. And this constant thing of wanting more and thinking that someone else's life's better is so common. And if you're watching now thinking, oh no, people have got the perfect life, trust me, everyone's always saying that they wish they had this, wish they had that, and having more money is not the answer to solving problems, but that's a whole other topic. So I've just gone on a tangent there again. But podcasts, yeah, the podcast was a massive thing, and I knew if I nailed the podcast, I could grow the platform even more and take things to another level. And yeah, the idea of the podcast was more people talking about Syntho, but that was to begin with. And then I soon realised after a few episodes that shit, this could maybe be something bigger than Syntho itself. And after doing kind of a lot of reading during the pandemic, and something I want to talk about, I was reading a lot of a guy called Naval Ravikant, and he talks about different ways to build income and things like that. And one of the great ways to build passive income, passive I say, because it's not really passive because everything requires some kind of work, especially podcasts. But essentially podcasts, people can listen to the podcast a million times once it's been recorded once, and you could be asleep while listening to it, so it can be classed as passive. I soon realised after a few podcasts that, wait, actually, I really enjoy this. I enjoy talking. I'm enjoying this right now. It's kind of therapeutic. And what if I could be a podcaster? And I say you can be anything you want. So, of course, anyone can be a podcaster. But what if I could build a platform of a podcast that people would actually listen to me every week? And this is funny because it comes back to another limiting belief. I was listening to a podcast around, I reckon it was the start of 2020. And it's a guy called Chris Willock's Modern Wisdom. And he was talking about his first podcast and how it happened and all this stuff. And he committed to becoming a pro podcaster at a certain point and really took it seriously and all this shit. And then I thought, listening to it, I wish I could have a podcast, because what a sick way to make a income, talking, sharing your thoughts, people listening to you. And I guess when I first started the podcast, it was mainly for the marketing purposes. But now, as I say this, the podcast is super important to me as a person and where I want to go with Syntho as a whole. And I believe the power of the podcast could be crazy. And who knows? I feel like each week more and more people are listening to it. Getting more subscribers anyway. It's still fucking scary to think that I'm only getting around 500 downloads and around 1,000 plays the last few. Some of them not even that. And then you got like people getting 1 million plays in a day. And I'm not comparing myself to other people. I mean this from a general league. It's kind of crazy, isn't it? How that I'm getting this fewer people listening to me. But it still feels like I've got a decent audience. So thank you very much to everyone that listens and listening to this right now. Because if you've got this far, that means you must be interested in what I've got to say to some point. But I think the thing with a podcast is you can say, I don't know, you got to be careful what you say, I guess. And as I'm saying this, it's kind of like, I hope I'm making sense and I hope I'm not fucking making myself sound like a dick. And hopefully people are taking some inspiration from this. But yeah, so now it's gone from being just a DJ to then a teacher, a podcaster. And in general, just life has so much to offer now. And at the start of the year, I even started a newsletter, which I was doing every Friday, called Fast Track Thoughts, which I maybe will resume. But in the end, I came to the conclusion that, well, the newsletter was going to allow me to promote the podcast, allow me to promote my releases, and offer a one kind of email. But I kind of decided that it was taking quite a lot of work to do, just because I had to sit down and write it, and I wanted to come up with some concepts for it. And I actually decided that it wasn't worth my time for now. But I do think I'll implement it eventually, because I thought one day it'd be cool to write a book, you know. Who knows where this journey could take me and how many people I could help, potentially, if I continue to grow this podcast and continue to teach and become a DJ. And, well, I am a DJ, but, you know, have this multi-dimensional life, which is completely unique to myself, and it'd be cool to write about that one day. So I thought a good way to learn to write is to start writing a newsletter. And among all this growth, I think I've grown as a person, that is the word. I was doing a lot of reading and a lot of podcast listening, and I think them two had a massive impact on my life. Firstly, I want to talk about how I pretty much didn't drink for the best part of 6 months in 2020, and during this time is when I did the whole Syntho brainstorm of constantly on the ball. And I don't want to go on about sobriety too much, because if you know me, you know I like to party from time to time, and I have been a party boy in my time. And when I say party boy, I mean every single weekend, either both nights of the weekend or not even going to bed and just partying very hard, very much living that typical DJ lifestyle. But it makes me laugh partying, because no one ever talks about the Monday to Wednesday where you're zombified. But I don't want to fucking put a big damper on the party lifestyle, because I think there is a bit of an anti-party movement right now where people are kind of advocating sobriety and almost looking down on people that still party. But I think we're on the planet for not a very long time, so you need to find the balance. And I don't think you need to drink to have a good time, not at all. But I also don't think people should be on the high horse just because they don't drink anymore, because I don't think that makes you a better person or anything, because you don't need to drink to have a good time. I think it just means that works for you. And I think it's quite impressive people that can go out and party and also do it in moderation and still turn up on Monday and get shit done. But the lesson I want to give here is that being sober pretty much for 6 months, if not longer, pretty much the whole 2020, I think I had about maybe 5 big do's. I call big do's, I mean big nights out, which is fuck all really. And maybe not even that, maybe it was only like 3 or 4. It allowed me to be present and on the ball every day. And when you start going from being hungover on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, to then feeling normal Thursday, Friday, to then going out again Friday night and then repeating the cycle, to then being on the ball Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you don't need to do the maths. It's fucking crazy. And it allowed me to constantly stay in the same headspace. And I think something I found in my life is that even now, with it, I didn't go out last weekend, but I feel if at the weekend I do no work at all, I don't turn the studio on, don't do anything, I fall out of a headspace that I'm in, and I have to kind of come back on a Monday. Like, I had the shittest Monday this week. I got nothing done. Because I felt like I was back in the starting blocks, and I have to kind of rev the engine up, get it going again. And yeah, I feel like I work best in a continuous way. It doesn't mean Friday, Saturday and Sunday that I work all day. It means maybe I just get up on a Saturday morning, I do 2 hours in the studio, and then Sunday I just do 2 hours in the studio, or I do something work related to move the needle, as they say metaphorically, just to keep something moving forward. That doesn't mean that I think 4 days off, just for me, I feel like I've got to start from fresh again. Even with the podcast, there's been weeks when I've done 2 podcasts one week and then had a week off, then one the next week. I found it much harder to get the wheel going again. Whereas if I do 2 podcasts in 1 week, it seems like I get in that flow state. It's not flow state because that's kind of more micro. But I mean, on a macro scale, I feel like I'm just getting the things done. And I know by doing this podcast, I'll probably end up doing a video this afternoon or make a tune. And it's kind of staying in work mode works for me. And it's kind of figuring out what works for you. So ultimately, what I want to say is that sobriety can be a massive productivity tool. And if you really want to achieve something and you can't, it's not quite happening, I think the first thing I would recommend doing is go sober for a month. Just do a month and see what changes. January 2021, the Syntho whole project went through the roof. I would say that's when I kind of grew a lot through the page. Members went up, views went up, followers went up. And I don't think it's coincidence that was the month I was sober. There's obviously many variables in this whole ecosystem of if I release a new record, if I'm more active on Instagram, if there's different things. But everything tends to come together when I feel like I'm not partying as much. And admittedly, I've been out the last few weekends. Not the last weekend just gone. I thought to myself, I need to kind of get myself in gear a bit. No pun intended. But I feel like when I have extended periods of no partying now, the needle seems to move a bit more. And if it's coincidence, maybe it's confirmation bias now that I kind of think that. But yeah, if you want to achieve something drastic, like even when I went to Dubai last year and I ended up on a bit of a diet, and fitness is a big part of my life, as some of you probably know. I didn't drink for 4 weeks then and got the leanest I've ever been. There was no booze. Obviously, there's a calories thing there, but it allowed me just to stay in a headspace of concentrated. I know what the goal is. Nothing changes. And I feel like when you have that big reset, you just lose scope of what's really important and what you actually want. And yeah, no drinking. That's a big part of how I managed to do this, because there's not a chance in hell I would have been able to launch the actual Syntho platform if I had been hitting the booze every weekend and spending half the time dead. And I'm going to be honest, it was such a refreshing thing to do for such a long period of time last year. And it did get to the point where I was actually scared to get wrecked again, because we all know the consequences of a big session. And I dealt with a few rough hangovers. And it's just that general negative thought of, why would you want to be... The way I talk to myself when I've had like big nights out, sometimes it's well too harsh on myself because I don't even go mad, but I feel like it's just that thing of, if I know deep down that there was work to be done and it's affected the work on the Monday or the Tuesday, it's kind of annoying, because 9 times out of 10 in the past year when I've gone out and drank, it's not been worth it. However, I think when events start again, it's a different ball game, because I'm really excited to go back to a party and actually party. But my kind of rule is that if it's not a party, then don't party. Which sounds dead obvious, but don't end up in a kitchen till 6 a.m. when you've only gone for a few drinks at the pub. I mean, I don't mind end up in a kitchen after a proper rave and you're talking about how sick the night was and whatever else, but yeah, I don't see value in ruining your life for a few drinks at the pub. But I think this is a dialogue and a conversation that's had 1,000 times, and I'm sure I'll probably be in a kitchen this weekend. Joking, I hope fucking not. But I've kind of changed this word as well of I hope, or I've took control of my weekends way more. That if I don't want to go out, I don't go out. It's a very much a choice now, whereas 2 years ago, it was not a choice. And that's a massive thing that the pandemic has changed in my life, that now I'm way more in control of my partying, my drinking, my general day-to-day living, because I'm not hungover as much, and it feels so much better to be in control of my life. I'm just seeing what other notes I've got down here, because I've gone through quite a lot here. I want to talk about consistency though, as well as the ultimate thing here, in whether, I don't want to say the word success, but I think I'm going to use the word success, because I do believe that is what's been accomplished with Syntho. It's been a massive success so far, and I think I put that down to the consistency thing. And this stems to everything. My music making, my DJ, my digging, has all come from consistency for a long period of time. Most people I know, if you get offended by what I'm going to say now, it probably applies to you. Most people can't even do something week upon week, never mind day upon day. I reckon a lot of people listening to this that are aspiring DJs and producers have actual full weeks where they don't make anything. Don't get me wrong, it's happened to me before, but I mean, like, rarely. The needle is always moving for me. Now it's a kind of big ecosystem where the needle has to move this big thing of Syntho, Josh Baker music, you and me, hide and seek, which we'll talk about them on another podcast. But there are so many things that I always want to make sure the needle's moving in something. So the needle could be moving by listening to a podcast, by writing something, by reading a book, by making a tune, by watching a tutorial, by listening to a podcast. You'll listen to this now, the needle is moving forward. Your brain is now thinking about how I can then make the next move to become the person I want to become. But if you spend a week of not reading, not making music, watching crap on TV, not exercising, the needle does not move forward. You're not going to become the person you want to become. And an amazing phrase that I heard recently was that don't practice what you don't want to become. So if you're checking your phone at 10 p.m. at night and you want to become someone that doesn't go on the phone much, you're practicing what you're going to become. What you do now is going to affect you forever. You can't practice things that you don't want to become in the future. It sounds really obvious, but if you eat crap food today, then you're probably going to do it tomorrow. The hardest time is always the first time. So for example, if I eat clean on a Monday, then Tuesday's easy, but it's easy to put off on the Monday, or I'll start eating clean tomorrow. If you think, I'm going to start making music every day from next week, well, if you start today, it's going to become easier by next week. I think practicing your everyday practices are such a big reflection of you as a person. Well, it is all you are as a person. And I've really learned that I struggle with it now. Like I check my phone in the morning, and I always notice that if I check my phone in the morning, I have like my head becomes clouded. And for example, today I checked my email first thing, and then straight away I was drawn to a problem, and I don't want to become that person. The person I see myself as is not someone who checks their phone regularly. However, I still do it all the time. When I say check and use, I mean different things. I mean, if you're using Instagram to make content, provide stories, it's different. But I mean, checking your phone, going in your DMs, like it's a fucking robot. And that's not something I want to become. And I need to knock that on the head. But we all have things and bad habits, and we always kind of think that in the future we won't do that. But like, when is the future, and when are you going to stop doing that? And another really good lesson is that you shouldn't define yourself by your occupation. I think a lot of DJs were just DJs before this, or still are, but because they defined themselves as DJs, that's all they were. They lost everything in an instant. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with just being a DJ, but I began to realize that there was actually so much more to life, and it was capable of so much more than just playing records and making music. And I don't want to belittle it by any means, but I do want to give everyone encouragement to think that there is no limits to what you can achieve in life. And whether you're a DJ for 10 years now, then you make a startup and do something else. I've realized that my life could go in any direction, whereas before the pandemic, I thought there was only one thing happening, and that would be me DJing every weekend until I was 50. And I would say now that I love DJing, and it's a big part of me, and I love it, but it's not the only thing now in my life. And there's different things I could go down: podcasting, media, this teaching platform, and tons of stuff. And it's opened my eyes up in a massive, massive way. And yeah, and helping others is a big thing that I've realized that I enjoy doing. I enjoy helping other people and talking in a weird way. I can't quite put my finger on what it is that I enjoy doing properly, like if there is a calling, because DJing was the calling that was what I was meant to do. But I think I'm still meant to DJ, but I think there's other things kind of whispering in my ear. But this media thing I really enjoy. So if you enjoy this, by the way, please comment, subscribe, like, because I always forget to tell everyone to do that, and give me some feedback on this and whatnot, because I would definitely want to do more YouTube videos as well. That's something I could see more of, and vlogs and things like that. But yeah, that's quite a good way to round up of how it's changed my life. It's now opened up all these avenues that I could go down. I think it's grown my audience. I think more people are discovering me. I'm a more confident person. I can speak better. I can speak more clearly. I'm genuinely confident in my own ability as well, whereas before I questioned a lot of things that I kind of felt like I was just stumbling down like a path, and I wasn't completely sure about where I was going. But I'm still not sure where I'm going, which is what I've just said. But there is now multiple kind of things pulling me along, and I'm just riding the wave. I want to talk about what's coming up though. So we've got the gigs. I've got a gig every weekend in July, August, and half of September. And it does make me think that has the Syntho project helped me massively in growing my profile and securing these gigs. And I know I mentioned earlier on in the podcast about whether this has allowed people to discover me more, which obviously it has, but I wonder what percentage of people and how many people that are now following me discovered me from a Syntho piece of content. If I refresh my Instagram followers now, I'm on 8,990. I think this time last year I was on about 5,000, which isn't massive gains, but it's definitely exponential the way followers grow. So it goes like that, the graph. So the more you get, the more you get, the more you get. It's the same with YouTube. I've got 100 followers in the last week, subscribers, which is a lot considering I'm only on 850 now, but the percentage wise, it's really starting to go up. But yeah, gigs coming up. I've got tons of gigs. I've got some amazing releases, and maybe some of the gigs is due to Syntho. But the biggest thing I'm trying to ride is the wave of staying as a credible DJ, because DJing is something I really love and it's my first passion, but also growing the media, and I don't want to affect each other. I don't think it will, but that's something I would love to know your thoughts as well. That do you think it discredits me as a DJ by doing media and things like that, or do you think it adds to the whole package? I think it adds to it, clearly, because the followers and things are going up. But I also have I really like underground, kind of obscure music, and it's often not hand in hand with being quite public online with everything. It's kind of a lot of people are kind of too cool for this stuff, whereas I think this is an avenue which I really feel comfortable. And like I said earlier, I think more people will go down this avenue. And yeah, if anyone's got any questions on anything I've done and spoke about, do not hesitate to ask. And if you're interested in joining Syntho as a platform, the teaching platform, the Instagram has got all the links. I'll attach all the links below. If you're a producer and you want to take things to the next level, it's hands down the best investment you'll ever make, as I'm showing people how to make music of all styles, all my tricks, all my tips. And it's £59 a month, which is cheap as fuck for the amount of content you're getting. And if you don't know how to make music yet, I've also got a beginner's course, which is a 6-week course, which is £149. And it's had over 100 people do the course now, and a piece of feedback has been that it's incredible and it's changed everything for them. And honestly, that the course is insane. I'm very confident and happy with what I've produced there. I think that is it, guys. I've really enjoyed this. I hope you've enjoyed it too. If you've got any questions, like I said, just DM me. And next week we'll be back with some guests. So, peace out, dudes and girls.